There were a few major mistakes I made when I first started trying to make money with my music by getting it placed in TV and film. The first mistake being not knowing what kind of company to actually reach out to. The term publisher can mean a lot of different things. And if you're not looking for the right publisher, you can end up getting tied up in a publishing deal that doesn't necessarily push your music as much in the sync space as some other publishers who specialize in music for media would. And that's the mistake I made. Ended up getting locked into a deal for like 3 years. And yeah, they did some TV stuff, but they weren't going as hard as, some like the companies that, I work with now. And that was just a mistake that I had to kind of just eat and learn from. And after that, I was just like, yeah, I'm not making that mistake again, because I wasn't able to really do any other deals outside of that because of how that was kind of structured. And I didn't really make a ton of money from it, to be honest with you. It got me my first placement, paid me about, I don't know, over $600 in royalties from the one use, but which is cool. I'm grateful for that. But yeah, that was a big mistake on my part. Second mistake I made was, once I did figure out the type of companies to send my music to, I would just send whatever I had. There was no like, I had old beats that I had produced for artists, and they ended up not using them or whatever, took a different direction. So I was like, okay, I have all these beats sitting here, I'll just send these to the publishers. No. And the reason why that didn't work out was because these tracks weren't structured right. Poor structure equals no syncs. I talk about this on page 3 of my sync producer quick start guide. If you want to see it, I kind of outline like how I structure, and I use like this same structure for the most part for like every track I produce for TV and film, and it's increased like my chances for placements a lot, man. I started landing way more placements and getting way more tracks signed once I implemented this structure. So click the link in the description, download the guide, and you can see that on page 3, just kind of how I map that structure out. But not having the proper structure was just like, that was killing me, because they didn't want to sign the tracks. They're like, yo, like, our editors can't use this, it's not optimized, you got fade outs at the end, a lot of these tracks are too long. And they was just like, yeah, you gotta make some changes. So I took notes, took the criticism. Some people, I don't know, like, you got to be able to take constructive criticism. Like, everybody's not out to just be negative and like shoot your dreams down. They're trying to help you by telling you what you're doing wrong so you can fix it, do it right, and resubmit. So if you get feedback, that's great, because feedback allows you to make adjustments and get results. You know what I mean? So I took the feedback, I made the adjustments, boom, started making progress. I was like, okay, bet, I'm gonna make note of this, I'm gonna write it down. That's what you're gonna find on that page 3. So once I fixed that structure, then I started seeing more traction, right? So that was number 2. The third thing was making the mistake of submitting what I thought was dope versus what the market was saying it needed in terms of music for TV, film, media, whatever the type of medium is. You got to listen to the market. It's not really about what you feel is hot, what you feel is dope, what you feel would work for a certain show. Sometimes it's cool to be like, oh, like, I could hear this on that, but I'll never approach a supervisor or a publisher and be like, hey, here's a track, I think you should send it to blah, blah, blah. I let them deal with that, because what I found is I've made tracks specifically for, let's say, an NFL brief that I received. NFL season was kicking off. Publisher sent me a brief. They were like, hey, We need these kind of tracks. We're going to send them to the sports networks. Boom. Made the tracks. So in my mind, I'm thinking sports. Yes, the tracks ultimately got placed on some different sports things, but then they also ended up getting placed on reality TV, VH1, MTV, BET, and a bunch of other things. I think one even got placed on like some random like documentary. Like, it's crazy. So I never like approached them like, hey, this is for this, because this could also be for a bunch of different things. So, you know, I think one of the biggest mistakes when I got started was just not studying the market first, because what I could have avoided was producing music and spending time producing music that nobody needed. Like, what are we doing? Time is valuable. Time is infinitely more valuable than money. So you can't waste that making a bunch of music that nobody even wants. There's no demand for it. And if there's no demand for it, brands and companies aren't going to pay you for it. So if the goal is to get paid from your music, and that may not be your goal, that's fine. You may just like to make music just because it's fun. But if it's your goal to make money with your music, you have to, and this is with any business, you have to solve a problem. And the only way you can solve that problem is seeing what is the solution to this problem. If the problem is TV shows need music to create a vibe and a feeling and an emotion to go along with the picture, then you need to provide that music. And you need to know what kind of music they're looking, what kind of moods and emotions are they looking for, what kind of lyrics are they looking for that's going to help them solve that problem. And then once you can figure that out, then you know what to spend more time creating, so that you're not wasting time making a bunch of unusable music. You know, we want our music to have purpose. We want it to be heard, but it also has to solve a problem, so that can translate into income for us. So if you give someone else what they need, the byproduct is you get what you need, whether that's money, whether that's credibility from having your name attached to networks like Fox Sports, NBC, CBS, Netflix, Hulu, Adidas, whatever. You know, you have to first supply that need and give them what they want. And when I started approaching it like that, I started to see way more success with getting my music placed in TV and film. And then it just became more of a rinse and repeat kind of thing, because, you know, once you kind of figure out what they're looking for, how they like to receive things, what editors are looking for, going back to the whole structure thing, which is super important. Like, you can have the dopest production, you can have the dopest mix, you can have all of these things, but that structure, if the structure is trash, they're gonna pass. It's a bar, but it's true, you know. So you got to make sure your music is optimized specifically for what you're pitching it for. Now, if you're just working with artists, then your music being optimized may look different, right? So you always have to know who is the customer, like where's this product going, who is this product going to, and how can it best serve them. So if you do that, you'll see a lot more progress. Hopefully that was helpful. And again, if you need that guide, you want to see that structure that I mentioned there on page 3, just click the link in the description, download that free Sync Producer Quick Start Guide. I'll pin it in the comments as well, and I'll catch you on the next one. All right, peace.